country in 10 minutes, sure.
Okay, welcome, András. Today, we're going to be comparing what it's like to live in Hungary versus the UK. Would you like to introduce yourself, saying your name, your course, your university, and where you're from?
So I'm András, and I am a film student at Bournemouth University in my second year, and I'm originally from Budapest in Hungary.
So the first thing I would like to talk to you about is what was it like, or the process of traveling from Hungary to the UK?
The process of traveling from Hungary to the UK is pretty simple. It isn't particularly difficult. Obviously, when I first traveled here, UK was still part of the EU. Now it isn't anymore. So you can no longer travel with just an ID. You need a passport now, I think. But to my knowledge, you still don't need a visa. So it's quite easy to get to the UK. There are several flights in normal times when it's not pandemic. There are several flights going each week, almost daily, to the UK of different price ranges, from your budget airlines like Ryanair or Wizz Air all the way until like British Airways. The one thing is obviously, because I'm in Bournemouth, all the flights from Hungary tend to go to London. So you have to get from London to Bournemouth as well. But that isn't too bad either. National Express or a train.
And if we talk about so far the advantages and disadvantages of being in the UK, in your opinion, over being in Hungary, what do you think the disadvantages are?
The disadvantages are, so obviously it depends how well somebody can speak the language, because I think from my experience, not a lot of people are in the UK aren't necessarily bilingual. They're very happy just being able to speak only English, which means the onus is on the person coming in to speak the language. So there are language. I didn't have those, but that's something to keep in mind. Another disadvantage is probably that things are more expensive here. Like, just generally, pretty much everything is more expensive. I think everything is about 20-30% more expensive than it would be in Hungary. And if you're coming from Hungary, chances are all your money is in Hungarian forints, which doesn't have a great conversion rate into British pounds. So that's a problem.
Okay. So if we talk about the advantages.
The advantages are, well, I think a lot of English universities, especially when it comes to sort of arts and humanities, I think perhaps have a better reputation than Hungarian universities. I can't say if that's the same for, sciences and mathematics, but when it comes to these, from my understanding, that's the case. Another advantage is, yes, it's more expensive, but if you are looking to get, a part-time job or a job of some kind, the pay is also better. You earn more, you just do.
We now get into the comparison. So when you come to the UK, what was your biggest shock when you first arrived, when coming to the UK from Hungary?
The biggest shock. Honestly, it's going to be a weird one, but maybe the way people speak. Because
so what idea did you have in your head before of the UK?
Very much the English that I knew was RP, right? It was received pronunciation. It was.
So could you describe what that is for students? Obviously,
I think it's what you could nickname the Queen's English. It's the kind of English that you are most likely to see in films.
So for example,
it's, I don't know, let's say it's the way James Bond speaks. It's the way, the royal family speaks in The Crown. That kind of English. I don't know if it's the way I speak. Maybe it's the way I speak.
Okay, that's all right. So so how do the English people speak?
It's a massively mixed bag. Like it's a massively mixed bag, because just depending on where people are from within the UK, they will have differing accents and pronunciations. They will use different
Terms.
terms. They'll use different like sayings, which I didn't
Oh,
know
okay.
about.
So say just to explain, so sayings is stuff like touch wood. So if something happens, someone may say touch wood, and it's a form of just a
Yeah,
little just to say something when you go,
yeah,
yeah.
things like that. Touch wood, I happened to actually know, but there were other ones
Yes,
which
there's a couple.
yeah, I think something that I laughed a lot at is when somebody revealed to me that apparently if you say spud me, that means to like give a fist bump.
Yes.
It's like what? But then they also told me that a spud is a nickname for a potato, which I was like, what?
I
So
didn't know that myself.
there you go. It's things like these. Like I came here thinking I know English, and then I realized I don't really know English.
And if we go into the culture, what is the Hungary culture compared to the UK culture?
Um, so off the top of my head, the first thing is I think people in the UK generally, in my experience, are a lot more accepting, right? Which I guess just comes from the fact that the UK population is a lot more diverse in terms of ethnicity, in terms of religion, probably in terms of everything, which means they are kind of more accepting um, of you and of all kinds of people. So that's a positive thing. Um, on
Anything
a less
else?
on a less serious note, English people, Hungarian people, if you want to try and recreate the food from home, you're gonna struggle a little bit. You can't get every ingredient that you as easily as you would think. English people prefer to shove things in the oven and then that's your meal, whereas we like to cook them in a pan a lot more. So that's something that I've realized.
Okay. And is there anything else about the English culture you think an Hungarian student will need to know? The
Um,
indifference.
Indifference. Actually, I'd say the drinking culture is quite similar when it comes to students. I think yeah, I think
So could you
that
describe what that is? Obviously, for students who are curious. What?
so I think both places do have a strong drinking culture of nights out, pubs or beers or whatever outside, or spirits. You can find basically any kind of alcohol that you want in both places, and you will find people who are willing to go on nights out and have a bender, as it were.
Okay. If we're now going to the UK weather compared to Hungary.
Um, it the stereotypes are somewhat true, although I will say this is going to be my first summer here, so I haven't seen the UK when it's supposed to be nice weather. But in the term times when I have been here, it does get quite grey. There is quite a bit of rain. And also in Bournemouth, probably because it's, on the coast, there's a lot of wind. This is a very windy place compared to Budapest. But it's nothing that you can't deal with, right? It's nothing too bad.
And if we're now going to the living, what is it like living as a UK student versus living back in Hungary?
I mean, obviously, a big difference here is that I'm alone. None of my family are here, so you kind of have to figure everything out for yourself. I think that's the biggest difference, is you don't have that built-in support network here. You have to make that for yourself and kind of find it.
So if we compare what it was like living at home, as in not from a independent point of view, but an access point of view, so such as when you leave your house in Hungary, you may feel safer, or there might be certain shops you have access to, or the roads may look different, or obviously I think I don't know how many other countries have it where the UK, the cars are on a different side of the road. And
first thing that popped in my mind, the amount of times in first year that I was nearly hit in a Sainsbury's car park is incredible. But you'll get used to it in time. But obviously that's a big difference. UK drives on the left, Hungary doesn't. And on top of that, I think honestly, generally, I feel safer in the UK. Police officers, I think, are more, and also just general, I think, you know, workers like in retail and everything are kinder and more approachable in the UK than in Hungary. I will say this is specific to Bournemouth, but in my experience, the Hungarian public transport system is better than the one in Bournemouth. Obviously, Budapest is a larger city, so there will just be more options probably anyway. Something that's worth noting for students if they're thinking about coming to Bournemouth is that there are, unlike in Budapest, there are 2 companies that operate the public transport, and having like a bus pass for one doesn't work on the other one, so it's 2 separate ones, whereas in Hungary you just get the bus pass.
Just to explain, that is specific to Bournemouth.
This is specific to Bournemouth, yes. But it's a thing, and it's actually kind of annoying, but it's
so. Last question I have for you is, what is it like trying to fit in as a Budapest student in the UK?
There are a lot of things, because at least in my university, I think the majority of students here are British. When you are kind of meeting people and you're getting to kind of know each other, they will say a lot of things that they kind of take for granted as being known, like spoons. I had no idea what spoons was coming here, right? That was an entirely new thing to me. I had no idea what it was, where it is. So I think it's just that there's you know, places and things that people do that they take for granted that you know what it is, but you don't, because obviously you're not from here. I think that's kind of the biggest thing, but
okay,
you'll get into it.
Thank you.
No worries.